The Crimson Fists have made planetfall onto Oodabooda planet to defend and extract a newly found Tyranid Bio Form. The Crimson Fists have a very low chance of making it off this planet, but that is why they were created, to protect the Imperium and help in whatever way they can. For Odin's world, for Cantor, for the Emperor. Crimson Fists versus Tyranid. Here we go. Alright, behind the camera now, we're going to get our first moves going. The Crimson Fists are not going to be able to move too much because they're pretty much inside that facility. But I am going to be swinging my intercessors out here to get some better angles on these Hormagaunts and hopefully thin them out. I'm still within the rules here. Alright. So there we go. Movement phase is done for my Crimson Fists. I have to really kind of see what's going to happen in the next couple moves with the Hormagaunts and where they come through. The Hormagaunts, the nice thing about the jungle terrain too is that they're going to have to kind of break out to get in here. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some choke points and get them shot in there. So we'll see how it goes. Next is the shooting phase. Show you guys the data card here. It's an intercessor squad. So this is their abilities and what kind of weapons they have. So I'm using the bolt rifle that you guys can see right here, and that's all of them. And they have the 2 attacks on a 3+, strength 4. So I'm going to start rolling in my dice tray, and I'm also going to probably fire off a couple of grenade launchers. I think crack to be able to get more of the numbers down, and it's also strength 4, or sorry, a frag. Crack, you know, for some of the bigger guys if my grenade launcher Primaris Marine's still going, but that's the plan right now. So let's see how the rolls turn out. Alright, we're over at the dice tray now. So this is going to be 20 shots with the bolt rifle on a 3+. So I'm going to do 5, 10, 5, 10. Move these over here. That was a 5. Alright, so anything on a 3+ is hit, so I'm just going to take out these misses, or if somebody, you know, had a jam in their bolt gun or something. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 shots out of the 20 that went off. Not too bad. So I have a toughness of 3, so I'm going to be wounding on 3+ here. So that's some pretty good rolls. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wounds. And it is a 6+ save because that's a -1 AP. So let's see how many make a 6 roll. A few actually, jeez Louise. So 4 survive, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 slain Hormagaunts. Alright. Next up is going to be my Stern Guard veterans firing. So they have combi bolt weapons for 1, 2, 3 of them, so that's going to be a 4+. So here's my roll for Stern Guard combi weapons. So 2 fired, 1 did not. The next is going to be the Stern Guard bolt pistol, and that is a 3+. This is my sergeant. He rolled a 1, so that jammed. And then last but not least, so the pyro cannon is the D6 + 1 first. So it's going to be 3 + 1, so we got 4. And that is automatically 4 hitting because it is a torrent ignores cover weapon. So it is strength 6 against my Hormagaunts strength 3. So I'm hitting on 2s, or wounding on 2s. And there is 3 wounds to my Hormagaunts. Oh, alright. Pyro cannon. Boop. You guys probably can't see that. But it is a -1 AP. So those 3 hits are going to make a 6+ save for my Hormagaunt. And 3 have died. These have all fired, and I'm going to have to do my bolt. So 4 on 3. This is going to be wounding on a 3, both. And then they need to make a 5+ save. So 1 is dead, so we have 4 more Hormagaunts that are dead from that turn. Alright, so halfway into our first turn, not as many Hormagaunts as I wanted dead in that first wave, but we have a squad that's been reduced to 3 from 10. And then my Sternguard veterans picked away at a few from here, so they were able to take out 3 Hormagaunts in that unit. You guys can tell that these Hormagaunts are very fast, and they're going to be in that wall very quickly. I am going to be using my Eliminators next to hopefully chip off a few wounds from these Von Ryan Leapers, so we'll move over to the dice tray in a sec. And then my Eradicator squad with my Dreadnought are going to be blasting away at the Screamer Killer. If this thing makes it into the facility, it might be a very quick game. And then there's also still Carnifexes to come, a Swarm Lord, and a lot more. So we're going to see how they do. All we have to do is get through those 5 turns, and these guys will get out of here. So let's see how it happens. The other thing is there's going to be no morale. I hate that rule in Warhammer 40,000. Like, these are super soldiers. Even if you're a human and you're in a last stand situation, you're not just going to decide to run or cower. At least I don't think. I don't think I would. So I never use any kind of morale rules at all, and it makes the game go a lot faster and just keeps everybody chugging away. And then the Tyranid too, like, it makes no sense. They're a big, like, bug hive. Why would they have the intelligence to run away or get broken or anything like that? So that rule is going to be pulled out. In my command phase, though, if people do get lost or MIA, KIA, the Apothecary can bring them back, and any other types of moves that are allowed from my command people. But yeah, there won't be any morale checks or anything like that. I'm not going to do that probably in any of my games. So, alright, let's keep going. Alright, back to the dice tray. This is my next roll, which is going to be my Eliminators versus the Von Ryan's Leapers. In these turns too, my Space Marines are going first because they have the defensive position shooting back, and the Tyranid are kind of running through the bush, so they get that first crack at it. So we are going to fire with the Bolt Sniper Rifle first. It is 1 shot at 3+, definitely in range of 36 inches. So let's see. He got a 2. That is not enough, so that bolt jammed, I guess, the Bolt Sniper Rifle. We're going to be using the 2 Las Fusils now, which are also 3+. Really hoping that we can get something here, because again, if they don't, those Von Ryan Sleepers are going to be on us in no time. So this is really bad. 1 shot off with a Las Fusil from highly trained Primaris Crimson Fist Marines. I guess maybe they are a little bit nervous. I don't know, but 2 shots that didn't happen. 1 Las Fusil shot. It's a strength 9 against a Von Ryan Leaper's toughness 5, so that's going to be a 3+ to wound. And he didn't do that either. So I guess the Las Fusil went like right through it, and it didn't hit any major organs. So yeah, my snipers are in trouble. That's not good. Alright, so luckily my Terminator Captain was in range, and this is his roll. So he has a combat weapon, and it's a 3+ with 1 attack. So I'm really, really hoping that he's going to be able to roll this and wound. So it's a 6, good roll, and now we have to get, it's toughness 5 versus a strength 4 weapon, so I need a 5 to actually wound the Von Ryan Sleeper. So let's see if this happens. So 4+. And it was a 3, so that does not wound. My Terminators are behind cover, so I can't really use them, and I don't have any other weapons because my Stern Guards tried to pump away at those Hormagaunts. Yeah, so we're going to try to hopefully take out the Screamer Killer. This might be a very quick battle if that's the case, if we don't get him. Alright, so you guys just saw in the roll there, my Terminator Captain tried to take kind of a pot shot through the jungle at the, from this side, right side, Von Ryan's Leaper. He was able to shoot, but it did not wound, so again, either like chipped off the chitin or just went wide or something, or went through a part of it. I'm moving over to the back of the field now to see if my Dreadnought and Eradicators can start to take some wounds off the Screamer Killer. And then we have this entire first turn to move into the base very shortly. So it might be hand-to-hand today. We'll see what happens. Alright, back behind the dice tray, and I'm going to start firing with my Ballistus Dreadnought. First things first, I'm going to get this Ballistus Las Cannon going. So it is 2 attacks, and it is a 3+, so let's see, with a strength 12. Nice thing is the Screamer Killer does not have an invulnerable save, so I'm hoping that this is going to take it out at least a few wounds. Let's see how it goes. Again, I'm not rolling well today. So I had one fire from the las cannon. The other one, I guess, got stuck in the barrel or something. And with a strength 12 versus a toughness 9, I'm going to be hitting on a 3. So let's at least hope we get one shot into the Screamer Killer. Yes, I did. So I got a 4. And with that, we have a damage of D6 plus 1 with an AP minus 3. So this might really strip some wounds off of the Screamer Killer. So I rolled a 4 plus 1, so that is 5 wounds. I'm going to use my white dice for the Screamer Killer. So we'll move this guy over here. So 5, it is at minus 3. The Screamer Killer usually has a 2+ save. It's not invulnerable. He doesn't have one. So this is going to be 5 pluses. And hey, he rolled pretty well. So 3 saves, 2 wounds have been knocked off of him. So that's not too bad. And then I'll see how my remaining weapons do on the ballistas, and then my eradicators as well. But 3 wounds is better than nothing. Sorry, I meant 2 wounds is better than nothing. I'm also going to fire my ballistas missile launcher with crack, because I want to be able to penetrate that armor. I don't think the frag's going to do enough. It doesn't have a high enough strength. So it's going to be 2 attacks on a 3+. Got them both. That's great. My ballistas is actually doing some stuff. It's at strength 10, so not a huge difference compared to the toughness of the Screamer Killer. So this is going to be a 4+ to wound. And I got 1 wound in, so that's great. 1 wound. So I'm going to be rolling the damage that's coming in there. So with the crack, it's a D6. Only 1 damage. Oh my gosh. And it is a minus 2 AP, so the Screamer Killer's save of 2+ turns into 4+. And he got a 1, so another wound is off, which is great. Alright, I'm back with my Ballistas Dreadnought. I'm going to be rolling to see if those twin Stormbolters can do some damage as well. I'm going to just unload all of his weaponry on the Screamer Killer to try to get it out this first turn. If not, I'm hoping those Eradicators can help out. Here we go. So this is the twin Stormbolters. They are 2 attacks, and it's going to be hitting on a 3+. So I got 1 again, so that's a 6. Boom. Strength's not amazing, it's a 4, so I'm going to actually need a 5 to be able to wound. And I did not, so those just kind of bounced off the Screamer Killer. My Ballistas has to reload, and I'm moving over to my Eradicators now. Alright, this is going to be my Eradicator roll. I don't think I'm going to be doing this for every single turn because it's a lot of rolling for you guys to see, but just an idea as to how this works. And I think what I'll do is I'll move through the battle, and then I will kind of do the sum up at the end of every turn. It'll be a little easier, so I'm not going between cameras and rolling and stopping the camera, 50,000 times. So they are all within range, but just barely. So the Melta Rifle has an 18-inch range. They're at about, 14 inches out, so it's there. They're not going to be able to use the Melta special rule because they're not, the Screamer Killer's not within half range. But they each have 1 attack. It's hitting on a 3+, and it's got a strength 9, so same toughness as the Screamer Killer. So let's see if they can strip some wounds off here. So Melta Rifle is going. 3+ are needed. 1 jammed. 2 are off. Again, that's a strength 9 against a toughness 9, so I'm going to have to roll 4s to wound. Here we go with that. Nice. So we got 2 6s, which is great. That means both Melta Rifles have fired. These are great too because they do quite a bit of damage. So it's a D6 roll for damage, and it's a minus 4 AP with the Melta Rifle. So one did one wound. All right. And the other did 5 wounds. So that's fantastic. 6 wounds in total, and the Screamer Killer has 7 left. So we have 6 dice I'm going to grab over here, my 6 white die from my Tyranid. It is a minus 4 AP, so this turns into a 6+ save. So the Screamer Killer is going to have to roll a 6 on each of these. So let's see how it does. It saved a couple. So 2 wounds were saved, and 4 wounds have been stripped from the Screamer Killer, so a very good round for my Dreadnought and for my Eradicators. I was worried that thing was going to get into the facility. It hasn't. I'll do a recap on the other camera too, just so you guys can kind of hear better, because I know the mic on this isn't great. But yeah, 4 wounds. So the Screamer Killer is down to 3.
All right, over on the other side of the table, I think you guys may have heard it from my dice tray rolls, but I don't know. It's an Akaso, so I don't know if the mic's too great there. Fantastic round from my Dreadnoughts and from my Eradicators. The Eradicators were just in range and got 2 of their Melter Rifles to fire and stripped a lot of wounds off the Screamer Killer. My Dreadnought was about 50-50. He got one of his last cannon barrels out, about half of his missile pods, and then his bolter. And the Screamer Killer, who started off with 10 wounds, is now down to 3. So they're able to strip 7 off of him. Very happy about that, because if this guy would have come right into the camp, as well as that second wave that's coming in, that's made up of Carnifexes and Gene Stealers and Raveners, it would not be a good day. You'll always see, like when you're playing Warhammer, that there's kind of some all-stars that start to show up in your battle. So right now, these guys are my all-stars. They did fantastic. And everybody else over here is going to have to pick it up, because my Eliminators were garbage that turn. My Terminator Captain was all right. My Intercessors were pretty good, but I was hoping for more wounds. And my Stern Guard Veterans that I thought were going to be like awesome, not too great. I should have moved those Terminators though out to be able to support this wall here. I might do that next turn, but that is literally the end of my Crimson Fist's first turn, and now they're going to be facing the onslaught of the Tyranid as they start to pour into this facility. So I'm going to start moving them, and I won't get that on camera. I'll show you guys the aftermath of that movement. Again, there's going to be no ranged weapons for my Tyranid, because they do not want to hit their little friend there, their Bioform. So there's going to be a ton of hand-to-hand, and I'm hoping maybe during the second turn I'll be able to strip away some more of those Hormagaunts with my Intercessors and Stern Guard Veterans, and then we'll see what hand-to-hand does, because we're definitely going to be getting into that soon. So that's the end of Crimson Fist turn 1. Okay, so that is the end of the Tyranid turn. They were able to move. Of course, they cannot shoot as per the handicap given to them for this battle. Von Ryan Leapers are pretty much right up against the gate there. Definitely within leaping range next turn of the snipers, so they're definitely going to have to get better shots this time if they want to keep going. The Hormagaunts have moved up right to the wall as well, and next turn they will be in the facility. My Tyranid Prime is right there with the Crimson Fist Sergeant of the Intercessor Squad, and the Lieutenant's there too, so that might be a one-on-one in the next turn. We'll have to see. I have the rest of the Hormagaunts coming in here. And these guys that were my all-stars against the Screamer Killer have 3 Hormagaunts that are bounding towards them. The Screamer Killer, actually didn't move him, I'm going to have to do that. Check his stats, and that's going to end the the first Tyranid turn. So we're going to move into turn 2, and that means that there's going to be a lot more Tyranid models on the board. Alright, so turn 1 has ended, and new Tyranid are on the board for turn 2. So we have the 6 Raveners, where the Von Ryan's Leapers were. The snipers are going to have, the Eliminators are going to have to take care of them, and then there's also a wave of the Raveners coming in. So I'm thinking my Terminators are going to have to move their butts. The Hormagaunts are still all against the wall here as per the end of that first turn for the Tyranid, and now what's come out of the rest of the thick jungle is 2 Carnifex. I don't really have weapons that have a very high strength that can handle these guys other than my Eradicators, but as you saw, my Eradicators have some Hormagaunts bounding on them, so they're going to have to choose their targets wisely. And then also what's come in from the jungle on this side is 10 Gene Stealers. So 10 Gene Stealers have popped out, and I've moved my Carnifex up as well, so he is almost now face-to-face with my Dreadnought. That Dreadnought is going to have to do some smart thinking, and with the amount of models coming out now, these guys might actually have to get into the fray. So my science facility team, led by the lead scientist, and the whole mission again is to protect that new Tyranid Bio Form that's in that case. So 3 turns left. Let's get on to turn 2 and see what my Crimson Fists do. Whether it's hand-to-hand, shooting, moving, retreating, we'll see what happens. All right. Turn 2 is just about to start, and I'm going to be rolling off for my Intercessors to hopefully mow down some more Hormagaunts. My Stern Guard Veterans are going to do the same, and let's see how it goes. Alright, so halfway through turn 2, my Eliminators finally came through a little bit. They wiped out one of the Von Ryan's Leapers and left one with a wound removed. My Captain couldn't wound, and my Terminators rolled probably some of the worst rolls I've ever had. they were not able to shorten those numbers out, so those leapers are going to be on them quick, but Terminators are great in hand-to-hand, so that should be alright. I still have my Stern Guard Veterans to go, so I'm going to use them. My Ballistus Dreadnought is hopefully going to take out this Screamer Killer. I think I called it a Carnifex earlier. It used to be a Carnifex Screamer Killer, but this is a different model now called a Screamer Killer. And then I have my Eradicators that moved up onto the Seacan, and they're going to try to dwindle those Gene Stealers. That Carnifex is super close though, so if I can't take it out, they're going to be, or the Screamer Killer is super close, so they're going to be hand-to-hand there. But let's see how it goes. My Intercessors too, they were able to take out 7 Hormagaunts, so that thinned the numbers a little bit, but I'm a little worried about them because when the Hormagaunts get into hand-to-hand combat, they're pretty good. And then we also have 2 Carnifexes coming in with 8 wounds apiece, so that's going to be interesting. But we'll finish off the second turn for the Crimson Fists, and then it's over to the Tyranid. Alrighty, so turn 2 for my Crimson Fist is done, and I'll just give you guys kind of a recap of what happened. So my Terminators moved up here for support, didn't really do much. I was really hoping they were going to take out those Von Ryan's Leapers. They did not. The Eliminators as well, they took one out and then wounded another, so not too bad for them this turn, because last turn they were awful. My Ballistus Dreadnought took out the Screamer Killer, so that was huge. That's, you know, if you guys are chess players, that's like a bishop or a rook on the board that's been removed. Swarm Lord's your queen, so he's still to come, but very good move there. The Hormagaunts are still in massive numbers. My Stern Guard Veteran Squad, I should have attached that Apothecary somewhere else, and I'm going to remember this for next battle. I think I would probably take another 10-man Intercessor Squad, because they're just not pulling their weight, and the combat weapon has an awful to-hit roll, so not great. Or maybe attach my Lieutenant with them to help them out, but anyways. The Intercessors here took out a few Hormagaunts, so they did their job. They've kind of thinned the numbers. This squad's only got 2 left. This is the one that the Frater's Militia just tried to take a pop shot at, so that guy right there tried to blast with his auto pistol. He either dropped the pistol or completely missed. There's a full squad there of Hormagaunts still coming in. Ripper Swarms and Hormagaunts. We're moving over to the Tyranid turn now too, so that's going to be pretty much all in hand-to-hand combat with my Crimson Fists. And once again, I was mentioning my all-stars of the battle so far has been my Eradicators and my Dreadnought. The Eradicators melted and just splashed a bunch of Melt-A-Shot all over this Gene Stealer group and took out 6 of them with 1 shot. It was a D6 roll, and I got a 6, which is phenomenal. Probably my best roll of the day so far. There has not been other good ones, but we're going to see how this goes. And we're moving over to Tyranid turn 2. Here we go. So turn 2 movement has happened for the Tyranids, and before I start rolling off for all these hand-to-hand combats, the walls have been completely overrun. So my Stern Guard Veterans are dealing with a bunch of Hormagaunts. My Apothecary is free right now, so he should be able to help these guys out, but that's going to be quite a fight. Hormagaunts against weapons, not great, but in hand-to-hand, we're going to see how they do. Down here, my Intercessor Squad has also been attacked by the last remaining 2 Hormagaunts. And then my Lieutenant is in hand-to-hand combat with the Winged Tyranid Prime. That's going to be a really good scrap. There's also a large squad of Hormagaunts that have jumped over the wall that's coming right for the new Bioform. My All-Star Eradicators are also tied up in hand-to-hand combat, and the Gene Stealers have moved in closely to fight them probably next turn. Let's see how that goes. Another large group of Hormagaunts has jumped over this wall, and my Terminators might have to spin around next turn and take them on because my Terminator Captain, the Warlord of this battle, is in hand-to-hand combat with 2 Von Ryan's Leapers, so they might have to back him up. We'll see in this next turn, but he's going to have to survive that hand-to-hand first. My Eliminators are still free, so I'm going to try to start popping off at these Raveners if I can, because they're still far enough away. My Dreadnought's also free, so that's going to probably have to move around the space real quick to help out where the holes have happened and plug those up. And then even though they have terrible weapons, my Frater's Militia might be able to actually do some stuff against those Hormagaunts because they're a little bit weaker. But I'm going to roll off, see how these hand-to-hand combats go, and then we'll fill you guys in on what's left of my Crimson Fists after this. And after this hand-to-hand combat turn, there's the 3rd wave of Tyranid coming in, which has the Swarm Lord and a bunch of Hive Guards. So it's not looking great, but let's see if the Crimson Fists can hold it off.
Alright, here is turn 2 Tyranid, and it's going to be the Von Ryan's Leapers versus my Terminator Captain. The Von Ryan's Leapers get an astonishing 6 attacks each that are hitting on a 3+ at strength 5. These things are very good in hand-to-hand combat. I wish my snipers would have taken them out, but let's see if my captain can survive this, because that's a lot of wounds he's going to have to try to protect himself from. Terminator armor or not. Alright, so there's 12 dice being rolled here for my Von Ryan's Leapers, hitting on 3+. So, 50-50-ish, not too bad. Better than what I was expecting. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8 hits. That is a strength 5 against my captain's toughness of 5. So these are going to be 4s to wound. That's good. That's good. Well, if you're a Tyranid player, not good. But for my Crimson Fist, that's good. So only 2 wounds have actually gone through. And I'm going to be saving those 2 wounds with the Terminator armor. So my Terminator Captain has a 2+ save. No invulnerable save, which is kind of weird, but he has a 2+. Unless those rules have changed, I have the older data cards. So I'm hoping that these are both going to be 2+. He has saved both and beaten away the Von Ryan's Leapers. And now he gets to fight back. And I'll do that in just a sec. Alright, so this is my rebuttal from my Terminator Captain. He is pissed off at the Von Ryan's Leapers for trying to hack away at his armor. So the Power Fist has 5 attacks, and it is going to be hitting on 2+. Every single one is a hit. So 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. And it is a strength 8 against toughness 5. So it's going to be 3s to wound. And only 1 did not wound, so we have 4 wounds going against the Von Ryan's Leapers. Grab 4 save dice for them. And the Power Fist has an AP -2, so this would make it a 6+, which is also the invulnerable save. So if they can make 6s here, they're going to save a couple of those. So 4, 4, 3, 6. So 1 was saved, 3 wounds have been delivered, and that means another Von Ryan Leaper has been killed on the board. Alright, this is still Tyranid turn 2. This is going to be the Hormagaunts versus my Eradicators. So the Hormagaunts have 3 attacks each, and they are hitting on a 4+. So I have my 6 die here for the 2 of them. And pretty good for my Crimson Fists. Only 2 hits really, so a lot of flailing, claws and tendrils and stuff. So there's 2. They only have a strength of 3 against a toughness 6 for my Eradicators, so they're going to have to roll 6s here to be able to wound. And that's a pretty good roll. So we have 1 wound that's gone in, and we're going to see if my Eradicator can save that. So they have a save of 3+. It is an AP -1, so that makes it a 4+ save. And let's see if he can do it. So he did not. That's 2. It's a damage 1. So one of my Eradicators has had a wound peeled off of him. And I'm hoping that they're going to be able to fight back and kill these 2 Hormagaunts. But yeah, 1 guy's down to 1 wound in my Eradicator squad. And sorry, yeah, correction. That is 2 wounds left because they have 3 wounds because they're in the souped up Gravis armor. So now I'm going to be rolling for my Eradicators, and they have their close combat weapons, so it's 3 attacks each against these guys, so it's going to be 9 dice for my Eradicators, and they are hitting on a 3+. 3+. Very good roll. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attacks that have gone through. Let's see if they wound. Whoops. So it's going to be strength 4 against toughness 3, so that's 3 pluses to wound. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wounds. And it's going to be 5+ save. So let's see if they can save these. The Hormagaunts have 1 wound each, so if there's 2 saves that aren't made, they're dead. And yeah, not a bad roll. So there was 3 that were saved, and then 3 that went through for my Eradicators. So those 2 Hormagaunts are finished, and my Eradicators fight on to take out more Gene Stealer models hopefully next turn.
Okay, so Tyranid turn 2 is done. I'm not placing the new Tyranid models yet. I just want to do a recap of that turn and what happened. So there's still four Gene Stealers left over here against the Eradicators. The Eradicators were in hand-to-hand combat against 3 Hormagaunts, and they got a wound peeled off of them, but were able to finish off the Hormagaunts quite easily. My Ballistus Dreadnought, aka All-Star here, as well as my Eradicators, were able to finish off that Screamer Killer. So that's a huge model to have off the board. I've got my Fratus Militia still guarding that new Bio Form. My Terminator Captain, full wound still. He was able to kill one of the Von Ryan Leapers and then wound the other. And then the Terminator's there to back him up because the Raveners are getting closer. With their next turn, they'll probably be inside the wall. My Eliminators are still up there. They're going to try to peel back some wounds from them. This swarm of Hormagaunts has gone in as well. My Sternguard Veterans were attacked by 6 Hormagaunts, and one's still in there. I gotta take him out. He died. And they got one of their wounds taken off of one of the Sternguard Veterans. My Sergeant was able to finish those 6 off with his Power Fist. The Lieutenant and the Winged Tyranid Prime had an epic battle. They both have 2 wounds remaining, and I think that's going to continue into the next round. On the other side of the wall here, again, that's going to be inside the facility unless they can get cleared out, are another group of Hormagaunts, Ripper Swarms. Some Hormagaunts have come right into the facility, and I'm going to have to spin someone around to take care of them. And then also the Tyranid have their Carnivexes left, which will be coming in shortly. And there's going to be an addition of new models for the Tyranid army in turn 3, and I'll show you those in a second. And then we'll get into turn 3 for the Crimson Fists. Alrighty. Okay, so turn 3 is just about to commence. I have added the turn 3 Tyranid models to the board, and they are just right over here because the only thing really on this wall right now is my Eradicators. So I have 3 Tyrant Guard that have come in, as well as the Swarm Lord. I still have my Dreadnought pretty close. I was thinking of moving my Dreadnought up onto the platform here to really be in the center of the battle to be able to help out. But now that this has happened and the Hive Mind has kind of read my play, they've put the Swarm Lord down here, and that Dreadnought's probably going to have to come back to the wall to help out the Eradicators because that is quite a force for them to take out. Very interested to see how this turn goes. Movement's going to be first for my Crimson Fists, then shooting, and some people might just get into hand-to-hand combat again right away. We'll see how it goes. But here we go, turn 3. Turn 3 movement phase for the Crimson Fist is done. My Intercessors jumped off the C-Can to get in front of this Hormagaunt swarm that's coming in. The Science Facility staff has also taken out their guns, and they're going to be shooting at them too to try to dwindle those numbers. My Eradicators back up on the C-Can still trying to hold that off, and my Dreadnought has come back up to the wall to deal with the Swarm Lord. If that thing gets in, I thought the Screamer Killer was bad, that's going to be even worse. My Stern Guards are holding strong on this wall. They're going to try to dwindle some of this number here. My Terminators jumped right in against this pack of Hormagaunts that's still here from round 1. My Eliminators didn't move, but they've got their sights on this Ravener unit here, and they're going to try to pick some of them off. My Terminator Captain is not standing down. He went right back in against the Von Ryan Leaper, and he's going to get the attack in their first hand-to-hand move. On the landing pad, the Specimen has been moved to the other side of the tower, and that's just so my guys could get some better vantage points there. But those stub guns and auto pistols might actually do okay against the Hormagaunts, so we'll see how it goes. And on to shooting. I'm not going to record the dice rolls for this. I'll definitely be legitimate in how it rolls, but it's going to be a lot of editing to do if I'm doing that. So I'm just going to roll, and then you guys will see the aftermath of the shooting phase, and then we'll get into hand-to-hand, and I think I'll record those rolls because that's going to be pretty cool. But so far, Crimson Fists are holding out. Tyranid after this are going to be moving in, and I think a lot of them are going to be back in the facility again. So let's get the shooting done and see how many of their numbers we can dwindle. All right. We're still in turn 3. The movement and shooting phase has just been completed by my Crimson Fists, and it was a super good round. Maybe I just have to turn the camera off because my rolls were actually pretty decent this time. So the Eradicators kind of sacrificed themselves because those Gene Stealers are going to be jumping onto them as soon as that next turn happens. But they blasted away at the Tyrant Guards and actually killed one and reduced another to 2 wounds with their Melter Rifles. The Dreadnought was able to peel a couple of wounds off of the Swarm Lord. That's going to be a really good showdown there pretty soon as well. Amazing. One of my Fratters Militia was actually able to shoot and kill a Hormigaunt, so that is a big check for them. They've actually helped in the battle and killed one of the Hormigaunts. We're going to see how this goes right now. My Terminator Captain has jumped right back in with the Von Ryan's Leaper there to see what happens. My Eliminators actually rolled pretty well too. They killed one of the Raveners in this squad and then took 2 wounds off of another. There is, however, 3 more fresh Raveners right here. My Terminators also are in hand-to-hand, so that's going to be decided in just a moment. My Stern Guard veterans were able to help out in taking out the Tyranid Prime before it went into hand-to-hand combat with my Lieutenant next turn. The Lieutenant also shot it. There was no wound, but he tried to put up a fight. That group of Hormigaunts that had made it into the facility were, of course, one taken out by my Fraterus Militia, and the rest were taken out by my Intercessors. I just talked that over with my boom mic. So we're going to get into hand-to-hand now and see how that goes. There's still 10 Hormigaunt models here, very close to the wall, and then 2 Carnifexes, and then at the end of that third turn, the Lictor is going to pop into this facility somewhere. So how that's going to work is I'm going to pick the center of the facility, most likely that stairwell right there. I'm going to roll a scatter dice to see where the arrow points. If it's a hit, I can move him wherever I want. And I'm going to roll a d6, and from that is going to be how many inches the Lictor can move from that spot, whether it be a hit or be a directional arrow dice. And that's going to cause even more havoc in the facility. But let's get to the hand-to-hand combat first for round 3, and that will finish off the Crimson Fist's turn. And then I'll record and show you guys what happened there also. I'm not going to record the dice, but I'll show you the outcome of that hand-to-hand. All right. Turn 3 for the Crimson Fist is over. Before I start the Tyranids turn 3, I just wanted to show you how hand-to-hand rolled up. So the Terminators were able to completely destroy that Hormigaunt squad that was there. They did their job though, so the Hormigaunts are, pawns on the board and they tire out your forces, so my Terminators had to intercept them or there could have been problems. My Captain also took care of the Von Ryan's Leaper, but now he's staring down 2 Raveners and then 3 more over here. There's still a 10 creature squad of Hormigaunt left there that's going to be jumping over the wall. I've got 2 Ripper Swarms in there as well, the Carnifexes that are coming in. And then on this side here, we've got the 2 Tyrant Guard, the Swarm Lord, and the Gene Stealers. So they're going to be in the facility this next turn, and we are going to see how the Tyranid turn 3 winds up, and I'll show you guys what happens after the movement phase there. Stand by. My Akaso battery just died, so I wanted to show you guys to make sure that we have that roll. This is the roll for the Lictor entering the battlefield during turn 3. The Tyranid have moved as well, so it's going to be this direction from the stairwell at 4 inches. So that's going to put the Lictor right about here, which is just behind our All-Star Dreadnought. Also very, very close to the Scientists. Again, from the very beginning of the battle, the Scientists can die. It just has to have 1 allied model left at the end of the game. These guys are weaker, so I wanted to make sure that they were up on the top, but the Lictor might be picking them off real quick, so I'm going to be placing him right here, and that's going to create a lot more havoc for my Crimson Fists. Ta-da! There he is. So 6 wounds, Lictor, very close to the Scientist, very close to the Dreadnought. The rest of the movements have happened by the Tyranid as well, and I'll show you how that ended up. So we have the Swarm Lord here now staring down the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought took out the Screamer Killer, and now I think it's probably the only model on the board that can take on the Swarm Lord. We will see how that goes. The Gene Stealers that they did not pick off last time have now gotten into hand-to-hand combat with my Eradicators, so they decided to strip some wounds away from the Hive Guard who are still moving in. And in doing so, open them up to hand-to-hand combat. So I really hope they'll be able to hold them off, because that's been an all-star unit too. My Carnifex are right at the wall of the facility, and my Intercessors are in hand-to-hand combat with the 2 Ripper Swarms. So we're going to see how that goes. They're small, but there's a lot of them, so we'll see how the Space Marines can do. My Frater's Militia, whoops, I almost hit that damn tower again. Gotta be careful of that. There we go. My Frater's Militia are now staring down the Carnifexes, so let's see if a couple of, stub guns and auto pistols can bounce some shots off that carapace. And then here my Stern Guard veterans are back into it again with a 10 creature squad of Hormagaunts. That's going to be some good hand-to-hand combat. My Apothecary is still free, so that's going to allow them during my command phase for turn 4 of the Space Marines to possibly bring the model back if I lose anyone. And the Raveners have come over the wall, are in hand-to-hand combat with my Terminator squad. My Eliminators are just kind of floating up there. They've been not great all game. They might have to get into hand-to-hand combat 2 next turn, or at least move them closer into the facility to help support. And then my Terminator captain has 2 Raveners on top of him. I really hope he's going to be able to fend them off, but that's going to be tough. Raveners are a lot tougher than the Von Ryan Leapers that he took on. So we're going to start the hand-to-hand combat. I'm not going to do the dice rolls because my dice camera actually just died, the battery. So I will roll, and then we're going to see the aftermath of that hand-to-hand and how many Crimson Fists and Tyranid are still alive. Alright, be back in a bit. Recap of the Tyranid turn 3 hand-to-hand combat phase. A lot of casualties from the Crimson Fists. I'll get to that in a sec. So the Hormagaunts were fended off and knocked off the roof with 2 remaining, but they did take one of the Stern Guard veterans with them. With the Apothecary in there, the Stern Guard is going to be able to return next turn. I'll actually cover over here first. So the 2 Raveners, absolutely devastating in hand-to-hand. They actually took out my captain in Terminator armor. So Acastus has died on Oodabooda planet, trying to defend that new bio life form. His Terminator squad in Vengeance completely wrecked the 3 Raveners. They got 1 wound peeled off of one of the guys. Or sort of 2 wounds, so there's one that has 1 wound remaining, but they were able to thwomp them with the power fists, and the 3 Raveners are gone. My Eliminators are still holding strong up in the tower, and that's good because turn 4 is just around the corner. The Dreadnought now has a Lictor behind him and a Swarm Lord in front of him, so that's going to be not good if you can't kill one of those in this next turn. The Gene Stealers also absolutely devastating in hand-to-hand, but we knew that, so they took out one of the Eradicators, and the Eradicators were able to fend off the 4 and knock them off the C-Can. And again, being Noble Space Marines, they're probably going to aim their shots at the Tyrant Guard first to take care of them because they have a higher toughness, and the Gene Stealers are probably going to jump on them next turn again, and I don't know what's going to happen. We'll have to see. The Carnifex are still right at the wall with the Science Facility staff ready to blast at them with their little stub pistols and auto pistols. My Intercessor squad took on 2 of the Ripper Swarms, and they were able to fend them off as well. It was weird, there was no wounds, even though I did a whole bunch of stuff, but the Ripper Swarms were okay. And we're going to move into turn 4 now with the Crimson Fists, and the extra turn Tyranid models are going to be added for the final turn, which is going to be coming up in just a sec. Apologies there, I jumped the gun. This is only the start of turn 4, so the last group of Tyranids is going to come in turn 5. I don't know, maybe I'll bring them in now because it makes more sense that they've been there for 2 turns, because with turn 5, I think I'm going to bring them in and we'll see how these Space Marines do. We're going to move into that turn in just a sec. My Stern Guard veteran has been returned, so that's a 5-man squad as per my Apothecary ability to bring them back. Just to show you the difference in models lost. So, that is my queen if you're playing chess, but my captain in Terminator armor has been slain, as well as one of my Eradicators. And then over here is the pile of dead Tyranid models. So just shows you the difference in the force. That is a pile of Hormagaunts. That's probably like 50 of them right there. We have a Tyrant Guard down, 4 Raveners down, the Screamer Killer, which was super lucky. I thought that thing was going to be in there a lot longer. The Von Ryan's Leapers that were finished by Acastus, the captain, before he was slain. My Gene Stealers, and my Tyranid Prime. So my Space Marines are actually faring pretty well, and you can just see when you do kind of some handicaps and stuff, it makes the game a lot more fun, a lot more even. So having the Tyranid not being able to shoot makes it a lot more cool, in depth, like you're jumping into the base, a lot of hand-to-hand combat, which is pretty awesome. I am going to drop in those last Tyranid models, so that was supposed to come in wave 5, but I want them in there for 2 full turns to see if these Space Marines can hold them off. And I'm going to place them, show you where they are, and then we're going to get into the Allied Space Marine turn for their movement. Here we go. Tyranid models have been placed for turn 4. I think it makes more sense because this is going to give them a full extra turn on the board, and these are some really sick models, so I want to use them. So the Norn Assimilator has come onto the battlefield, 16 wounds, and just an absolute beast in hand-to-hand. I don't really have anyone left that can take that on, unless my Dreadnought can make a desperate sprint over here, but he's going to be facing the Swarmlord, and my Terminator Captain is dead. So we're going to see how that goes. The other models that were added during turn 4 are 3 Tyranid Warriors, and they are staring right down at those Terminators. We're going to see what happens there. We're going to move into the movement phase for my Crimson Fist, and I think at this point, since we're so far into the battle, before starting turn 4, there might be a lot of trying to get into higher positions to hold off until that ship can come in and extract the new bioform. So we're going to get into the movement phase, and then we're going to start shooting, and let's see how these Crimson Fists do, if they can finish off these last 2 turns. It's getting pretty tight, so wish them luck. Crimson Fist movement phase turn 4 is complete. My Eliminators moved back a little bit on the tower. They're going to be popping off with those Raveners. My Terminators stood right up into that position to take on the Warriors as they came through the jungle. My Stern Guard veterans have jumped into hand-to-hand combat off of the Nachmund building, and they're going to try to take out those Hormagaunts. The Norn Assimilator is there too, so maybe they're going to try tie him up next turn. My Intercessor squad has moved from behind the sea can out to face the 2 Carnifex. If those Carnifex get into hand-to-hand combat, probably lights out. My Primaris Lieutenant is in hand-to-hand combat with the 2 Ripper Swarms. My Science Facility staff are up on the wall. They're going to try to probably shoot as well at the Carnifexes, those like little strength 3 pistols. We'll see how it goes. My Eradicators did not move, so these guys are going to go down fighting. They're going to be blasting those Tyrant Guard with the Melter Rifles, and then they're probably going to face the onslaught of those Gene Stealers, which tore apart one of their buddies last turn. Over here, we have the Dreadnought still staring down the Swarmlord with the Lictor coming up behind. Again, this guy used to be a Primaris Marine, so he's going to be staring down that Swarmlord until the end, and he's probably going to get jumped in the back by the Lictor. We'll see how that goes. And then we have the 2 Raveners here that finished off Captain Acastus, and I'm hoping that my Eliminators are going to be able to take them out. So I'm moving into the shooting phase now. I'm going to roll all the shooting dice, and I'll let you guys know how everything landed at the end. Hopefully we thin out some of these Tyranid. Let's see. Alright, so shooting phase turn 4 for my Crimson Fists. My Ballistus Dreadnought was able to get a couple wounds off of the Swarmlord, so it's got 5 wounds left. My Eradicators, again, really trying to fight to the last man. They were able to wipe out one of the Tyrant Guard and leave 1 left with 1 wound, but those Gene Stealers are lurking right below. My Intercessor squad opened up with everything they had, as well as crack missiles from the underslung grenade missile launcher. And nothing was done to the Carnifex, so every single bolt round just bounced off of that heavy carapace armor. My Norn Assimilator hasn't moved yet, but look out when he does. Hand-to-hand combat still to come for my Lieutenant, so that's going to happen still. Also for my Stern Guard, they've got 2 Hormagaunts they have to take care of. My Terminators did a great job finally, and they took out a Tyranid Warrior. And my Eliminators also did fantastic work this time. They started off slow, but they were able to take out those 2 Raveners and avenge Captain Acastus because he was killed by them. So that's the end of the shooting phase. It's time for hand-to-hand combat, and then we're going to move into the Tyranid movement phase, and there's probably going to be a lot more hand-to-hand after that. So here we go. Hand-to-hand combat for Crimson Fists went pretty well. We lost 1 more Stern Guard, but he'll be back again at the beginning of their next turn because they are attached to the Apothecary unless the Apothecary gets killed this turn. My Primaris Lieutenant was able to kill one of the Ripper Swarms, and there's still one left with 2 wounds. That was it for the hand-to-hand. It's now the Tyranid movement phase, and I'll show you what happens there and what kind of hand-to-hand combats come from that. Alright. This battle is going to come right down to the wire. That is the movement turn for the Tyranids, turn 4. The Carnifexes have gone right into combat with that Intercessor squad. My science facility staff are here. I'm probably going to try to get one of them up into the tower to hold off as long as they possibly can. The Ripper Swarms jumped right back onto my lieutenant, and we're going to see if he can fend them off. He is stuck, so he can't go and help his troops out against the Carnifexes. The Eradicators, again, sacrificed last turn to peel some wounds off the Tyrant Guard. They are now back in hand-to-hand combat with the Gene Stealers. There's a Tyrant Guard also that's super close to hand-to-hand combat. The science staff may have to try to fight him off. It's got really good toughness against their little pistols, I'm not sure. The Dreadnought, that's been another absolute all-star, is now in hand-to-hand combat from both sides. So it has the Swarm Lord on the front, and it has a Lictor behind it. My Eliminators are up in their tower, and they may have a chance to be able to finish off these Tyranid warriors before they get into hand-to-hand combat with the Terminators next turn. These Terminators, I think, are going to have to turn back around, do a 180, and jump right back into the base to get back onto that landing pad to support. And last but not least, a man down. They are taking on, my Stern Guard veterans are taking on the Norn Assimilator, and just to show you guys the size comparison here. This is a beast of a model, and absolutely incredible in hand-to-hand combat. So we'll see if my Apothecary is still alive at the end of this. He might be able to bring one of the Stern Guards back, but they might all be finished right here. So we're going to see how the hand-to-hand combat does. I'll be rolling that off camera, and I will show you guys the results when I come back. So Tyranid turn 4 is done in hand-to-hand. The 2 Carnifexes, as you can see, are all that is left. That entire Intercessor squad was killed. These things are insane in hand-to-hand combat. They delivered out 12 damage at like -2 or 3 AP. The power armor just couldn't stop it, and as you saw Titus at the beginning of Space Marine 2, they just completely shredded that entire Intercessor squad. My lieutenant was able to take out the Ripper Swarm. He has 1 wound left, and he is going to be doing a 180, and will be taking on those Carnifex by himself. The Fraterus Militia might try to move back a bit, because that final turn is coming, and as long as there's an allied model left, they're going to be able to win this battle. My Eradicators were able to fend off the Hormagaunts. I don't think any wounds were, or the Gene Stealer story, I don't think there was any wounds stripped, so they're still good. My Dreadnought is still alive. Damn it, I hit it again with my mic. There we go. The Norn Assimilator 2 over here completely destroyed my Apothecary. He was killed right away, and then there are 3 Stern Guard veterans left. So since the Apothecary has been removed, I cannot bring a slain model back, and they're just pretty much staring down their death, because this thing still has full 16 wounds, and it's just, you think Carnifexes are bad in hand-to-hand, this thing is insane. So it was able to strip them apart. My Terminators, they should be trying to take out these warriors, but I think they're going to make a 180 as well and try to get back into the center of the facility to try to win that battle for the Crimson Fists. My Eliminators might try to hold off those Tyranid warriors during their shooting phase. And over here, still an all-star, he was able to fend off both the Swarm Lord and a Lictor. He took a couple wounds. He's down to 4 now, my Dreadnought. And he was able to fend off both the Swarm Lord and the Lictor. And we're going to see now, it's going to be the movement phase for my Crimson Fists. And then shooting and hand-to-hand if I want to get into that. But right now it's just going to be a fight for survival, because everything is going to be in this facility soon. And there's literally just this turn. If I can survive till the end of the Tyranid turn with 1 allied model left, we win the battle. And I'll bring in the Arvis Lighter, hopefully, to lift off the newly found specimen here that's going to be brought back up to space and worked upon, so they can find some weaknesses for the Tyranid. But here we go, Crimson Fist movement phase. before I show you what happened for that turn's movement for the Crimson Fist, this is what happened in the last turn pretty much. So we lost 2 Sternguard veterans, we lost the Apothecary, and we lost the entire 10-man Intercessor squad, leaving a very bare bones unit left. So my Dreadnoughts moved right up to pretty much put that las cannon to the Swarmlord's head and just blast it with a major like las cannon blast. My Eradicators are still on top here. They're going to start firing at that Tyrant Guard, and those Gene Stealers are going to be on them soon, but they don't care. My Terminators have moved back into an all-around defense in the middle of the facility. I think we're going to maybe make it just because of them. My Eliminators too are up in the tower. They haven't moved. And my Sternguard veterans, being the heroes that they are, have locked themselves in hand-to-hand combat with the Norn Assimilator to hold them off for at least a turn. My Lieutenant has also done the same thing and gone in against the Carnifex Brood, so he's taking on both of them in hand-to-hand combat with 1 wound left. They both have combined 16 wounds, so 8 wounds each. And my Science Facility staff has backed up into the center of the landing pad, getting ready to be extracted, but oop, there's a Lictor right there, so I'm going to turn around with them and try to peg with that to try to finish it off. My Terminators as well are probably going to do the same thing, because if that Lictor gets on top of the Science staff, they're definitely dead. And there's my Eradicators again. We're going to move to the shooting phase. I'm going to roll off camera, and I will show you guys what shakes from it. Alright, good luck, Crimson Fists. Crimson Fists turn 4 shooting phase is done, or I should say turn 5, sorry, this is the last turn. Couldn't have gone better considering how late we are into the battle and how many models have both come and gone. So my Dreadnought was able to finish off that pesky Swarmlord. He got him with the crack missiles. The Lictor had 2 wounds taken from it by the Terminators. The Science Facility staff tried to pop some shots off at it, but they didn't really have much of a chance. So that is great there. My Eliminators have really stepped up at the end of the battle. They were able to take out the 2 Tyranid warriors that were, or Tyranid warriors that were there at the beginning of this shooting phase. And then over here, the Eradicators were able to finish off that final Tyrant Guard. So now we're going to be moving into the hand-to-hand combat phase for the Crimson Fists. We have the Lieutenant locked in here with 1 wound. If he makes it somehow, it'll be an absolute miracle. My Sternguard veterans are holding up this Norn Assimilator, because if it makes it into the camp during that final Tyranid turn, not good. And then over here, my Dreadnought still has its back to the Lictor, so it's probably going to get jumped, and it's not in hand-to-hand right now. So we're going to roll off. I'm going to do that off camera for the hand-to-hand combat phase, and we'll see who's left at the very end of the Crimson Fist turn 5. So I had to show off this roll. This was my Lieutenant taking on those 2 Carnifex. They got 12 attacks in on him. There was probably, I think, 8 that landed. And I rolled one at a time for dramatic effect. I rolled a 5, a 6, a 5, a 6, which actually saves him. But the final one was a 3. So that's the end of the Lieutenant. Crazy valiant effort. He was the 2IC of this battle, so I think probably my Terminator Sergeant is going to be in charge now for the remainder. He had 1 wound left. So that is the end of my Lieutenant. The Carnifexes are in the facility, and the Tyranid turn is just about to happen, and I'm also going to roll off for my Sternguard veterans and the Norn Assimilator. I just wanted to show you guys that roll, because I was really hoping if he'd made that final roll, he would have been okay. But not the case. So let's see how the rest of this hand-to-hand goes. Hand-to-hand combat phase is done for my Crimson Fists in turn 5, final turn. So the Norn Assimilator wrecked the Sternguard veterans. The Sternguard veterans actually put up a pretty good fight against its first attacks with the Scything Talons, but its secondary attack with the Harpoons was devastating and finished them off. My Lieutenant again almost survived the Carnifex assault, but was slain. My 2 Eradicators are still on that wall. These guys, along with the Dreadnought, have been absolute all-stars all game long. We're moving into the Tyranid movement phase, though, and everything is pretty much in range of Tyranid attacks, so we're really going to have to see how this finishes up. Terminator's in the middle still. I think my eliminators are going to be okay. Knock on wood, I think we're going to win this battle, but we have to see how turn 5 Tyranid goes. So it's going to be the movement phase and then hand to hand. And we're going to see who and what models remain at the end. So here we go. The final Tyranid move of turn 5. And I'll start the camera back up after the movement phase has been complete for them. Absolutely insane how these battles finish up. So this is the final turn for the Tyranid. They just completed their move. So we have my Eradicators in hand-to-hand combat again against those Gene Stealers. I really hope they can survive because they've been awesome all game. My Ballistus Dreadnought has been attacked from behind again by the Lictor. There's a very high possibility that the Dreadnought could actually go down, so we're going to have to see. The Science Facility staff has been completely overrun by the Carnifex models, but as you can see, I have moved the life form down to my Terminators in the middle, and the Norn Assimilator is just out of range of getting into hand-to-hand combat. So that's 10 inches from its start, and it's just at the lip of the building. So the Terminators are actually going to be safe, and then my Eliminators as well. So it looks like the Crimson Fists are going to take this one, which is crazy because it was, you know, double the point size of a Tyranid army, but that handicap really helped out that they could only do hand-to-hand combat. But I'm still going to see how this rolls out because I want to know if my Dreadnought's going to live, how many of that Science staff is going to die, and also if my Eradicators are going to make it out. So here we go. We're going to do the hand-to-hand combat phase for the Tyranid and finish up this game. That is the end of the game. So turn 7 is done, hand-to-hand combat by the Tyranid. The Dreadnought survived. The Lictor actually lost a wound when the Dreadnought fought back. The entire Science Facility team was just torn apart by those Carnifexes. Sadly, my all-star Eradicators were shredded by the Gene Stealers. Those things are crazy in hand-to-hand combat, even against aggressor armor. My Terminators are still alive because that Norn Assimilator was just out of reach. If that had gotten into hand-to-hand combat, I think we would have lost that squad. And my Eliminators are here. So here is the Arvis Lighter. It has landed. You can see there's a little Acadian model there. Come on, guys, get in here. So that Arvis Lighter can probably fit maybe the 3 Eliminators, which does mean that the Terminators, as well as the Dreadnought, are going to have to hold off the rest of this Tyranid swarm to make sure that that Arvis Lighter can get away. But the Crimson Fists have won this battle. It was super close. Only a few allied models remained. I'll show you guys the death toll that the Tyranid faced against the Crimson Fists. So this is the mound of dead Tyranid here. So Von Ryan's Leaper is dead. Tyrant Guard, all dead. Swarmlord taken out. Screamer Killer taken out. All the Raveners finished off. Massive pile of Hormagaunts. Got almost, I'd say, 3/4 of the Gene Stealers done. The Ripper Swarms were finished. The Tyranid Warriors were finished as well. I'll move over to the death toll on the Crimson Fist side. So we lost the Science Facility. There's a nice close-up shot of the Fratus Militia models. They're so cool. I'll be using them in future battles too because they're just awesome. Great little civilian models with like weak weapons and trying to fight back. My Eradicators, there they are. Definitely want to give them, you know, a star of the game. They did fantastic, and they held off right until the end. My 10 Intercessors lost to the 2 Carnifexes, which just tore them apart. The Stern Guard Veterans held in there for a while, but the Norn Assimilator was too much, as well as that Apothecary. The Lieutenant did some pretty great hand-to-hand combat, took care of that wing Tyranid Prime, but lost against those Carnifexes in sort of a noble last stand. And then my Captain Acastus, Terminator Captain, was actually lost pretty early on. It was the Raveners that got to him, but there's the Crimson Fists that were lost. They did win the battle, but one last shot, so that Dreadnought's going to just keep blasting as long as it can until it gets swamped and swarmed by the Carnifexes, the Gene Stealer, and the Lictor. That Norn Assimilator is going to jump down into that Tyranid squad, so if this was going for another turn, I think the Tyranid definitely would have won. And these Eliminators, being smaller models, will be able to jump into the back of that Arvis Lighter and take off. But this is a win for the Crimson Fists. Thank you guys for watching. I'm just going to flip the camera around. Hey, so yeah, it was awesome to do a battle report just to knock the rust off.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to edit this up and try to do it as best I can. I learned a few things too, and just some ways on how to make this a little bit easier. I don't know if I'm going to roll for every single turn, but I'm glad you guys watched it. Thank you for hanging out with me and doing that, and there'll be more battle reports in the coming months. Around, November into December, Christmas time, I'm hoping to start that narrative campaign with my Cadian, and there's going to be a lead-up battle. I think I'm going to make it my first because this one's going to be fresh in your mind. So it's going to be the Cadian 555th Company leading that new found bioform, the Tyranid Bio Form, into this campsite. So that'll be kind of like a prequel to this battle. And again, alternate reality if they don't make it, but it should be a pretty sweet game. And yeah, thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.